Cards live.
Hello, thanks for coming, everyone. I'm Margaret. I'm the Family Care Navigator at Memory and Movement. And I co-facilitate the support groups here. We do have 3 support groups. We have a Parkinson's support group that's run by our wonderful Larry. That's
with a haircut.
Yes, with a haircut, which is in person. And then Joan does 2 support groups, 1 virtual and 1 in person here at Memory and Movement. Larry, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
I am here in a sort of a different role. I'm a patient here, which most of my people know that. I have early onset Parkinson's disease, and I'm navigating that like a lot of people are. But when I came here as a patient, I fell in love with this place, and I said, "Can I do anything for you all?" And they said yes, and so here I am today. My background is that I was a chaplain for 25 years in a large retirement community in Charlotte. I worked with every worldview you could imagine, and I love that. I love that challenge. I worked in head injury rehab for 5 years as a pastor, counselor, working with every worldview you could imagine. So I feel like that I have come at this the right way, in the sense that I've experienced what my patients choose to experience. I am married. I have 2 wonderful daughters and 4 grandchildren and 1 grand dog. No, I have 2 grand dogs. I have 2 grand dogs.
You love dogs.
And as maybe some of you know, I co-lead or I facilitate a Parkinson's support group every month, and next Tuesday night afternoon is the next one, and it's a place to come and to be supported and to be yourself. Is that enough?
Yeah, very good, Larry. Very good. Joan?
Yes, I'm Joan Wright. Great to be with you this afternoon. My connection with Memory Movement Charlotte comes from, similar to Larry, I am personally connected with dementia. Both my parents had dementia, died of dementia. I was my mother's caregiver. So I have such empathy, compassion for those who are going through this. My background, I've got a master's degree in clinical social work, though I bring the counseling end of things to my role. I also work as an executive coach, and I have 2 Cavalier King Charles certified therapy dogs that I bring here. So if you are a patient or your family is coming for an appointment here at Memory Movement, you might see us in the reception area. We sit right here, and these dogs bring a lot of smiles and sit on your lap.
Those are your dogs?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So you've met
Okay,
them. Yeah. Great. So, and as Margaret said, I run the 2 general caregiver support groups, and 1 is virtual. So it's not easy for people to physically get here, but you have the virtual option. I also do individual counseling for caregivers.
Good. Okay. Why don't we start with overall what would you say is the overall value of support groups, Larry? Or either one of you can start.
Oh, wow.
There's so much to them.
Life is stressful. Even if you're well, life is stressful. But when you're dealing with a memory of movement disease, stress can even is higher. And one of the gifts of support groups is it provides a place where people can come and know they're not alone. Most time, I think all the time, when people come to my group, and Joan would say the same thing, they leave feeling better. They feel as if I'm not in this by myself. Because disease, any kind of disease, but since we're talking about memory movement disease, it's a lonely journey,
Mhm.
and it's a very stressful journey. And somehow or another, just being with each other, and being vulnerable, and that's a big word, being vulnerable with one another. Somehow, the magic happens. And Joan is a clinical social worker, and I love clinical social workers. They make great therapists, and she knows this better than I do. There's something that happens when you're willing to be vulnerable with a group, and willing to share your deepest joy and fears. So my purpose is to help people feel loved and cared for, and feel less lonely.
Mm-hmm. Joan, do you want to add anything to that?
I don't know that I would add much other than support groups can offer some education.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not providers. I don't answer medical questions, but I certainly can address any educational information. And oftentimes Margaret, who is the family care navigator, joins my groups, and she will in the moment say, well, we actually have a whole piece on that particular question. Like, what are the 7 stages? And the website here at Memory Movement Charlotte is so robust. Now, a lot of caregivers don't have time to sit at their laptop, and actually that, as Larry was saying, can add some stress. It's just like one more thing. But we can short circuit that and say, yeah, there's an article right here. And oftentimes the other members will provide education. One thing that came up in our group was recently was one of the loved ones of a caregiver needed to find somebody to come into the home a couple of days a week. And so, it was like popcorn. Everybody was, this group is good. You want a man for this particular job, and and it can be a very resourceful time. At the same time, the primary goal is the emotional support, but the education can be also part of it.
Good. What would you say would be some reasons why you think people may be resistant? Because some people don't feel comfortable speaking in front of others about their personal issues, and there's sometimes resistance. What other reasons, or why would you think people might have preconceived notions or have a resistance to support groups? What would you say to those folks who kind of want to come, but they just are just like, oh, I don't know. Am I going to be, telling everyone my personal, experiences?
I'll take that one. I don't know why I feel this one. It makes me sad because the relief that you can get by attending, and the hardest job is to open that front door. So once you enter in here, it's very, very welcoming. A couple of reasons I see resistance. First of all, there's a lot of stigma with this disease. I hate that. It's a disease, a series of memory diseases that happen, but for whatever reason, there often is stigma. And so am I being disloyal to my husband if I come here to a support group and he doesn't really even admit to the fact that he's got a memory issue? Or who might I see that in the lobby, in the group? That is another reason. And the third thing I think is it's a practical one. Is a lot of caregivers don't feel like they can take the time, and So that's why we have the virtual group. But even then, and we are not bothered by it at all. We have people who are at home. They think they've got, a 45-hour time slot that they can be on the virtual call. And their loved one is walking into the room, is asking about lunch. But we understand that and we roll with that, where they have to hop on and hop off. So the resistance is real. And we just keep on putting the invitation out there.
Yes.
And memory movement in your care plan meetings, they will recommend it. So sometimes we have to let the providers make it as a recommendation, almost like a prescription. This would be really good. And we'll get into the unfortunate challenges that caregivers have in this role.
Yes.
So you're doing yourself a great service, as well as the other people that show up.
Yes. I remember years ago a Marine who fought in the South Pacific. He wandered into my office and said, "I came for a generic prayer." And I thought, what in the world is a generic prayer? What is that? But what he was really saying was, I need help. His wife had dementia. And I need a friend. I need somebody that I can be honest with. I need somebody that I can spit on the ground and say down with. And that was him. Choosing to being vulnerable isn't easy. I mean, to say I need help takes courage. But I find that once people come to the door, as Joan said, and sit, they realize this is where I need to be. And that is a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah.
That's good. For those folks out there who have never attended a support group in their life, just give them a scenario of what it looks like the minute they walk in the door. How do you run your group, Larry?
Well, first of all, it's a safe place, and that's important. It needs to be a safe place. It needs to be a place where confidentiality is there, where what we say remains in the room. It needs to be a place where people can come in and feel comfortable. We offer them water, a place to sit, a safe place. Let's face it, they're not always. You
don't serve lunch at yours?
Next time. But the bottom line is that once you come in and sit down and realize I'm not alone in this, there's a miracle happens. I think.
Joan, I know you like to start with a kind of like an icebreaker sometimes.
Well, it's a theme.
A theme, yeah.
A theme, and sometimes it is a poem that I've come across. And poetry is often a great tool to grab some of our emotions.
That's right.
I've used the feelings wheel as a tool and passed that around and said, okay, what feeling are you having today?
I like that.
We have done some seasonal things. I always find it awkward to say, okay, we've got to find something that we are grateful for.
Yes.
But people show up for that question. And whether it's I'm grateful for toilet paper,
especially during COVID.
Right. But, some people will hear others say, I got to go for a walk today and, I just noticed a new bird. and just kind of being reminded of the fact that, we do live in a beautiful city and, to get outside. So, yeah, I think about a theme each time.
Mm-hmm.
So next session, I'm going to be talking about family systems theory and what happens with your family when your loved one gets diagnosed.
It affects everyone in the family.
Yeah.
Even your neighbors, even your dogs.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's important when I promote your support groups to when I speak with caregivers, I do say, sometimes I say you can have the pass, meaning like sometimes if you don't want to speak, you can come. If you're not comfortable, it's okay to come and just listen.
Yes.
So that's kind of the first step too. Not everyone feels comfortable saying something on their first day, coming to a support group. So I always let them know that that's okay and that the leader is going to understand that. If you'd rather not say anything and just say, I'm here to listen today, that's okay. So I think that's important for them to know.
Yes.
It's a big step. Sometimes listening to this just as therapeutic,
Right. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Margaret, because that is one of the guidelines. No one says, oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing, and I was not good about this in the beginning, is giving everybody a chance to share and not letting people dominate a discussion. So we have an extra half an hour that people can linger in the conference room or linger on the Zoom call to share some more. We have a phone list and email addresses that you don't have to put down your information. I put that back out there. There's been some, things that people have heard in the rooms that they want to follow up with somebody that they met. So, yeah.
When you were talking about the next theme for family for next month, you had written something regarding family matters and myths around what we can expect from loved ones. Can you go into a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah. So we all have families. We're all in families. And there are patterns. And then when somebody is diagnosed with a memory disease, those patterns don't change. They just are illuminated. So the one that is sort of large and in charge in the family will be even larger than in charge. The one that is saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with mom. She's fine. She's just getting old." That one, could put some obstacles in front of the family coming to a family care meeting. And so it's something that we have to pay attention to. Holidays can be difficult because those roles really come out. And so we actually, in the support groups, we may, I call it, process somebody's issues. So remember this one story about they used to have a wonderful Christmas dinner. And so they switched to a Christmas lunch. And instead of it being a Christmas lunch, it was sandwich on Saturdays. and just so it was so much more simple. So all of that over-functioning or under-functioning or scapegoating, all of that stuff, if you know it, you can prepare around it. And then you'll get a lot of support when, people will say, "Oh, you too? You're dealing with that?"
Good point.
Yeah.
And I think support groups are just so great because you're all walking in the same shoes for the most part. And I know we've talked about what Joan says of the curse of the well-wishers.
Yes.
Where a friend or a family member might say something to you that they're thinking they're saying something out of the good of their heart, but it comes off to completely absurd to you.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about that in the support groups. But sometimes people just say things. Sometimes they don't know what to say, so they almost say the wrong thing. And sometimes, Joan and I have talked, sometimes, certain relationships with friends might be broken because that relation has just gone the wrong way, and they're just not seeing things, I guess, as you hope they would see them, or they're saying things that are almost to the point of being insensitive.
Yes. It challenges every relationship.
Yeah.
And there's a redefinition has to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where clinical social workers come in handy. And I think support groups. It's a place where you can redefine the relationship that I have, and then to be able to grieve the relationships that I don't have anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
and I don't know about you all, but I need help in redefining things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so a support group is a good place to come and to learn a new language, a new way of navigating darkness, questions, feelings, emotions. But the support group has to be a safe place where that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Joan and I, that's one of our challenges, is to make sure it's always safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add one quick story. So I mentioned that I was my mother's caregiver, and this notion of the curse of the well-wishers. So she had been a widow, and then she, started to get cognitive impairment, and then it, became worse and worse. And she was in this widows group every Sunday night. They'd go have dinner, and they'd get dressed up, and it was really special, and she always looked forward to it. And then she'd forget that it was Sunday, and then so her friends, instead of calling her, they started calling me. What's the matter with Madeline? That was her name. Should she even be driving? And where are you going to put her? And it's like, I want to say, that is none of your business. And it would, and these were women that I felt like they were my friends too, because she was so close to them, and I'd join the group I had to recognize what it would trigger in me, because I don't want to lash back. As Margaret said, they don't know what to say, and it's stirring up the fear for them that this could happen to them, or maybe it is already happening, or it's happening to their spouse.
Yes.
And so it's easier to go pick at Madeline and what's happening with her than it is to look at what's happening maybe in your own home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Larry, Joan talked about she has a theme. Usually when she has her support groups, or she starts with a poem, how do you like to format your groups, if you even like to do it that way?
I do. I'd like to ask, questions are so important. Mm-hmm. A good question is worth 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. And so I try to think of a good question. I think the last time that I met my group, I said, throughout your life, you had these strengths, this particular strength. How has that strength served you, and how is that strength serving you now?
I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I usually would include, if you can, what are you thankful for today? Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty hard question to ask someone. They might be not thankful for anything. Why would you ask that question? But what's
going on in my house?
But what I do is that I try to personalize it, since I have Parkinson's disease. What what keeps me from spiraling down, and being thankful, if it's toilet paper, stops the spiraling down. And someone said, and I don't know if this is true, but if it isn't, it should be, you cannot be thankful and depressed in the same moment. I don't know if that is true. It should be. But
Claim it, Larry. I think it is.
claim. But when I can be, and when I'm in a group, it might be that no one has asked them to think about that before. What are you thankful for? And then I'll tell them, this is what happens with me. When I find myself spiraling down, my wife reminds me of this, Larry, be thankful. Somebody said we can rewire our brains with gratitude. And a lot of mornings, I'll try to think of 5 things that I'm thankful for every day. That's a whole lot better than awfulizing. I know none of us awfulize, but it's a lot better than awfulizing.
Does that make you think awful?
Ain't it awful?
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
And you guys in your support groups that I've attended to are really good about just educating the caregivers on how important it is to take time for themselves. Even if it's only an hour a day, try to take a walk or read a book or write in a journal, just get time for themselves, because that's so important.
And that stops the spiraling down too.
Yeah.
To do something for yourself. Read a book, take a walk, go outside on a gorgeous day like this. That can stop the spiraling down.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to piggyback on that because I think we need to encourage the caregivers to take a stand more for their self-care. There's a great quote by Harvey Mackay, it goes, dig your well before you're thirsty. And so a lot of times when people start coming to these caregiver support groups, they realize that other people are going to the beach with a girlfriend for 3 days. And they've got the backup support. Or that one woman who's so delightful, she's got a great sense of humor. She had quite an epiphany, and she crossed the line, which a lot of us do. I did, where they realized that their own health is being compromised. She had not been to the dentist in almost 2 years, and so she took a stand for that. And, the help with her loved one, her husband, while she was at the dentist, that all went smoothly. And then she started chipping away at more activities. And so the dig the well is, trying to be creative around who could help, who could come by, what might work. Even if it's limited, but I'm amazed at how much people are willing to help. So you just have to really take a stand, because if you go down, it's not going to be good, right. And that accelerates a lot of things that. You wouldn't want, or complications that you wouldn't want.
A thing that runs throughout most religions is you love your neighbor as you love yourself. And what that means is, I think you need to take care of yourself if you're going to be able to take care of the one you love for a long period of time. I have a sister in Kentucky who had an MS relationship with her daughter. And I said, Lois, if you don't take care of yourself, you'll get to the place where you can do nothing for your daughter. I was a brother, I can say that. But there is a sense in which you have to take care of yourself. You have to do that. My wife, for an example, since she found out that I had Parkinson's disease, we've had to redefine our relationship to some degree. And she asked me too often, how am I doing? And my daughter certainly asked me that question. But there's a sense in which I want Velma to take care of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's some pretty good statistics out there that says people who don't do that die first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the most sound statistic is 18% of caregivers die before there. So 1 in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is alarming.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I think being proactive as a caregiver and even in the early stages, carving out that time for yourself, because I talk to a lot of caregivers where 100% of their identity now is being a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say, oh, let's get a caregiver in there, even if it's for 4 hours, and they almost get in panic mode. Well, what am I going to do for 4 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have completely are so engrossed in the caregiver role.
Yes.
It's almost scary to think that they could actually leave the house and they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, what if I don't walk or, go to get a coffee? It's almost like you have to remind them, well, what did you used to do? So you don't want to lose that identity. You want to be proactive because that's where a lot of this caregiver burden and stress and sometimes death happens to the caregiver before the patient.
And the support group is a good place to remind people of that. And people who are watching it need to know that is that we have to take care of ourselves. Nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're seeing this in your group. We can step back and let the group support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, peer support sometimes can be even more powerful.
Yes.
So let's say Larry and I are in the caregivers support group together as caregivers, and Larry can say to me, so Joan, why aren't you playing golf on Tuesdays with the girls?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just your kind but clear question.
Just the question itself.
Yeah.
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 Questions have power.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that a lot in the groups.
Yes.
Where that's the peer support. And sometimes you guys sit back and watch all these great dialogues amongst them all.
Yep.
And that's rewarding when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rewarding.
Yeah. Because they really all connect.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave here always feeling better leaving than when they walked in. I feel like when I go to your groups and they end, I just feel like that they've all been wonderful. And
that's the goal, really, is we want people to come in a safe place where they can be vulnerable
mm-hmm.
and know that what they say will stay in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay probably to say, I learned this from somebody, but not mention their name. I think that might be acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But we never go across those boundaries.
Yep. And our groups are open to everyone too. You don't have to be a patient and a caregiver to attend our support group.
That's right.
So that's really good to, spread that word, which is, we're available to anybody. So is there any questions? I think I got most of my.
You got all of them done?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
One other thing I'll just say, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a new Netflix movie called Remarkably Beautiful Creatures. And when you're talking about that group of women who come up and they start talking about, they're coming up and just saying like, oh, well, what about this? Or what if you do this? Or what if when something traumatic happens to somebody? That is a perfect example in that movie. You need to watch it. But I don't know why this made me think of it, but it's a great example. And it shows like she stuck up for herself to say, hey, you guys are my friends, but also this traumatic thing happened to me. I need to take a step back, and redefining those boundaries. And so great plug for that movie to go watch it on Netflix, but it's really good.
And I think through the process too, I know we talked about this, Joan, you find out through the process who are your safe friends who you can really rely on, and who really, you start to weed out the friends or the family members who you might not consider.
Yeah.
Can I read the quote that I found? This was great because I was really dealing with this curse of the well-wishers. One of the quiet burdens of caregiving is learning how to navigate the reaction of others. Sometimes the most helpful support is not advice or optimism. It's simply someone who can sit with us in uncertainty.
Yes.
Yeah. There's so much ambiguity in both the person who has the disease and in the caregiver role. I mean, we don't know what's around the corner.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is we're all in this together. No matter who we are, we're in this together. We're called human beings. And when we human beings find ourselves facing disease, it's a wake-up call. But it could be a wake-up call that has some positive outcome. To recognize that I've got these issues. 2 years before I found out I had Parkinson's disease, I was having some weird issues. And when I found out that I had it, it was sort of rewarding. Now I know why I've been doing these things. I know why when I'm writing, I can't read my writing, which is part of Parkinson's disease. I have journaled for years. I have journaled for 50 years. I've got boxes full of journals. And my kids are going to inherit these journal on these days, and they're going to be embarrassed. I'll be dead then, so it won't matter. But now when I journal, I have to mark out right. But which is the bottom line, I think, is that we're all human beings, and we all have issues. We all have issues, and to have a setting where people can come together, a safe place where they can come together, where they can be vulnerable, where they can practice vulnerability. Some of us have not practiced that very well. One of my favorite writers is Brene Brown, and she has said so many wonderful things about vulnerability. But a support group is a place where we can come practice vulnerability and come say, this is who I am. This is what's going on. And it might be time to ask a question. This is what's going on with me. Is that okay?
Joan, you said something about that you allow the group members to, if they want to share their phone numbers and contact information. And I remember my mother was in a support group in Boston when my dad was sick, and it was very isolating to be a caregiver. Even as much as you try to maintain some outside things and stay engaged with the world, you really just are home more often.
Right.
And so I know she found the support group to be like almost a social occasion because she was seeing people and people she didn't have to explain things to. They were going through the same thing, and so there was. There wasn't the, what did you call it? The unintentional.
Oh, the curse of that. Yeah.
So she didn't really have to worry about that because everybody was going through the same thing. And I'm wondering if you are finding, because the group meets, I know you have two, but some people go to only the virtual or only the in-person. And Larry, yours is once a month. I wonder if you've seen any of your members start to connect in between. If it's become a social.
Yeah, I would love it to be more than it is, but there is some of that connection. And what I try to do in the theme is try to, get them to weave something or share something about themselves. So one of our regulars in the in-person is a huge Panthers fan. And so, I almost feel like we're all rooting for the Panthers because, this guy member is so enthusiastic. And then we certainly know when he's going to a game. And, so there are, and I think that's why this vulnerability piece, we're letting some stuff out about ourselves, grandchildren, a wedding. So you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be just about the really heavy stuff. It can be about some of because they're, even in the darkest part of an illness, life is happening. Babies are being born. People are getting married. Family members are getting promoted.
Panthers are winning.
Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and each group, I think, evolves. And some groups, the more regular, the gang is, I think there's a little bit more of that because there's more personal history and connection. But there is something magical that happens when a newcomer comes.
That's a good point. Magical is a word.
I'm sure some of you are familiar with the story of this family that was on a flight, and they had, I'm going to change the story a little bit, but they were planning to go to Italy. And when the flight landed, they announced that they were in Holland. And the family is thinking, well, wait a second, we're going to Italy. We're going to go see the Michelangelo. We're going to, see the Roman Colosseum and go to the Vatican and have this wonderful Italian food. What the heck? We're in Holland. And what happens with a newcomer is the rest of the group starts to help them understand that in Holland there's some goodness too.
Yes.
There are tulips. There are.
Yes.
I've not been to Holland, so I don't have a lot of examples on the Holland side, but there's some incredible museums and
beautiful flowers.
And
Windmills.
I say green grass.
Grass. So knowing that, you've got others that are saying, you can find moments of joy in Holland.
And that's, I think a piece of that is that to learn to be flexible. Flexibility makes room for joy. It makes room for grace.
Yeah, I think one of the things that in preparing for this, caregivers sometimes feel like they have to be perfect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when they make a mistake or they lose their cool with their loved one, shame kicks in or guilt or whatever. And if you understand just what you said, that we got to give ourselves grace as we're doing the best we can.
Yes.
At this moment. And we're going to make mistakes.
Yes. We're humans.
Yeah. One of the things, and I do open up a lot about my experience with my mother because I learned a ton. And one of the things, I was that family member who was large and in charge. So, and my battle with my mother was her drinking water. She had her coffee in the morning and she had her wine in the evening, and there was no water. And and I was just certain that this was going to cause her demise. And the more I, brought another glass of water, the more I, tried to manipulate, manage, do whatever, the more she got even more obstinate about it, And then hospice came in, and one of the first things they said, you can do whatever you want, Madeline. She said, you've got to be kidding. You mean, okay, Joan, you are not the boss of me. The hospice person said, you want ice cream for breakfast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. If you don't want to drink any water. Now, this is obviously late stage, but you have to pick your battles, and you will make mistakes, and you will die on your sword. And, you need that fellowship to say, gosh, well, you screwed up that way. You wouldn't believe what I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really.
Well, somebody actually in the chat, so I just want to give you guys the kudos of this. They said this has been an outstanding conversation. You have covered so much ground. Thank you all so much. And so I do want to give, because we have around 13 minutes left, if there is any questions from our audience members, and we can go ahead and kick it off.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a statement on what Larry said, because when my wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and so forth, and I had gone to a couple of groups and so forth, and like, Connie, this is not for you, and this is not for you, this is not for Joanne. And somewhere along the line, I was blessed and met a guy by the name of Chuck Edwards.
Oh.
And his words to me, when I finished talking to him the first day, he put his arm on my shoulder. He says, Connie, just remember one thing, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important.
And then that was when he started his practice.
Yes.
And that's when he was over in Billingsley, and now he's buildings here, and it's on from the little hole in the wall to what it is, and it's amazing.
Good.
Larry, you have a little history with Dr. Edwards, don't you?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a little history with Dr. Edwards?
I do have a history, Dr. Edwards. I was a chaplain at Plantation Estates, now Matthews Glen, for 25 years, and his parents were there.
Yeah.
And I made him mad one day. I hope if he's watching this, I hope he doesn't remember that. I said, you need to come and see your mom more often. But I said, but I will tell you this: his mother was a wonderful person. She ended up with dementia, and I found that I learned a lot about symbols, how important symbols are to people with dementia. And one day she would sit and perseverate. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I walked by one day and did this. And she said, "Hello, Father." And we had a conversation. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was my comment. Yeah, I did know Dr. Edwards. I don't know if he remembers me or not. I hope he doesn't remember that I made him mad.
I love that. Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? Anybody online? You can once again come off mute if you would like, or you can put it in the chat.
It makes us feel good when you ask questions.
Mhm.
And just to let the audience know, your support group numbers are usually 6 to 10.
Yeah.
Usually 6, usually 8. I'm feeling 8 or 9. Yeah. So it's a nice group. I think that's a nice number.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see anything in the chat. Anybody else have any other comments? Any other questions? If not, then we can close a little bit early, and that's okay. That means we have a little bit more time in the day to go do what things in the beautiful day. I do want to thank our sponsors. So we actually have somebody, and if you would like to come and say something, you more than welcome can. We have a representative. One of our sponsors of our support groups is Blue Dot. So if Joe would like to step in and say something really quick.
Certainly. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. So my name's Joe. I'm with Blue Dot Cares, and we are a local agency here in the Charlotte area. We take great pride in that. A lot of agencies that provide home care are national franchises, which a lot of them do a great job, but we take a lot of pride in being a local Charlotte-based care agency. We have about 150 CNAs that are caregivers that can come in to support families and be there pretty much anytime that you need us. We have families that, like Margaret said, might just need us for 4 hours a week. And then we have some families that need ongoing support for up to 24 hours a day. So, we had, like you said, somebody that was able, I think you gave the example about somebody needed to go out of town for the beach. We had somebody from your all's group that reached out this week that needed to go out of town for about 5 days to go visit with her aunt for her 90th birthday. And she was able to do that because we were able to bring in 24/7 support for about 4 or 5 days while she's in town. She said it might be the last time I get to see my aunt. So, so that was a great situation for us to be able to provide support. But, we can help in any way. But just one last thing I'll leave off just to kind of echo, what the theme of today is, with this being a support group, I have the ability to talk with a lot of caregivers. I have probably 10 to 15, 20 conversations a week, mostly with the caregivers. I have the benefit of talking with the spouses, the daughters, the sons. And it's, you can hear it in their voice, the pain and the burnout, so to speak, sometimes that they experience. And so it is important to be, like you said, caring of yourself, having grace with yourself, and obviously taking care of yourself first. And, we hope to support that if we can.
Yes.
So, obviously feel free to reach out to the team here if we can ever help.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you for supporting our support.
Certainly. Yeah, we're happy to.
One of the things that I did, and this is my last thoughts, is that I always try to, when we're in the group, I will always, at some point, close to the end, maybe it's not close, maybe halfway through, I'll say, take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you need from this group today?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And the one time we did this, and one person said, what I'm getting from this group is to know that I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone. Which I find to be a big reason to get together.
And sometimes it's probably just a deep breath.
Deep breath.
Yeah, by itself. Thanks for that last comment. Well, in addition to Joe, we have another great sponsor, Supernus, which is wonderful. So thank you, Supernus, for your support for our support. Thank you all. Thank you, Margaret, Joan, and Larry, for your conversations today. And once again, everyone just take charge and continue being great. Thanks. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Very good.
All right.